Barboza versus Americani, I thought this was a really interesting match. Don't forget, Americani asked for the match. And that was a big talking point going into the fight because nobody asks for Barboza, but Americani saw it differently. He saw a very aggressive fighter in Barboza, and he thought that he does best with aggressive fighters because he's very good at making them miss. Okay. All right. So he asked for the fight. They go out and fight 145 pounds, right? Don't forget, Barboza's changed from 155 to 145. So there's a bit of a fresh coat of paint and a bit of an experiment going on. First time down there, got to work the kinks out. But now all of a sudden, he's back in a co-main event with a killer. And there wasn't a whole lot of a fight there. I don't know if Americani ever got going. Americani stood there, threw a couple of up jabs that looked pretty nice, landed on the nose, and did nothing else all night long. I mean, that's just what happened. He never saw his opening. I assume what he was talking about by when Barboza's going to throw hard and miss, that he then thought he could make him pay for the miss, that there was going to be some counter offense there. It just never happened. There was one guy standing there. There was one guy fighting. The guy fighting was named Barboza. When the fight got over, and that's what I want to discuss, Barboza checks a lot of boxes. First off, people know who he is. Second off, he's wildly, wildly fun to watch. He's also very unique. I mean, he brings a speed, particularly with the legs. His whole body's fast, but he can do kicks that have power and speed. I would put the speed like I've never seen. I don't know if anybody in conjunction with can throw that quickly. It'll be his rear leg, the slow leg, and you can't even see it coming. Boom. Announcer says he kicked it. Okay, I guess I believe you. I couldn't see it. I mean, it's one of these things. He's very unique. Good looking guy, good attitude, always ready to go. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes. He was even upset with the UFC about a year ago, asked to be released, but he wanted to be released for reasons that we love. He wasn't being busy enough. He wanted to fight more often. They give him 3 fights a year all the time. That's all they can. That's all a commission will allow without some kind of special. But he wanted more fights. That cool thing. We like guys like that. All right. So Barboza checks a lot of boxes, but he makes a big mistake. They ask him after the fight, who do you want to fight next? I mean, they tee him up, softball right down the middle. He says somebody in the top 5, top 6. Now, if you don't care who you fight, there's no way that I can care who you fight. And when I say I don't just mean Chael, I mean the fan, the collective I. If you don't care who your next opponent is, then we can't care. When you call out a guy 5 or 6, that is the same vein. That would be a synonym for saying I don't care. But it's also going a little bit further because it's saying I don't know, right? Nobody knows who's ranked number 5 in the world at 145 pounds right now, except for the guy who's ranked number 5. Nobody knows who's ranked number 6 in the world right now at 145, except for the guy who's ranked number 6. So when Barboza comes out and says a top 5, a top 6, that means he doesn't know. So he's admitting to us, I don't even know who those guys are, or I would call them by name. I don't have a name. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm assuming that you all know. Or Barboza, don't assume. Do not assume that because we don't know and we don't care at all. I don't know what the guy that you just beat in impressive fashion was ranked or if he was ranked. I just know it was a co-main event and it was on ESPN and 2 studs were in the cage. I know there were studs in the cage because it was a co-main event on ESPN. Let that be my reality and let that be everybody else's reality, including yours. Don't call, if you're going to call for nobody, just stick in co-main events and main events. Play a different game. Play the work my way up the card game. If you're fighting the number 100 guy, but you're doing it in a co-main event spot, you've done something right. Barboza, you did something right. And you've done something right a lot of times, and now over 2 different weight classes, something that most guys don't have the discipline to do, let alone the courage to do. You're in a very good spot. But when it's time to call for why would you want to fight the number 5 guy? I mean, if we're just throwing a dart at the wall and whoever's number, you wanted 5, okay, here's 5. Why? You want to be 5? Is that your goal? Volkanovski is the champion. If we're going to call somebody out, we got to either call out Volkanovski just to get a headline, get a reaction, sail this one in. I hadn't thought it through. Didn't know I was going to be in this interview. Hadn't planned for it. Let me just call for the champ, see where it goes. Or we call somebody to get to Volkanovski, because if we do that, we can now add the why. I want to fight Max Holloway because I know that would then make me the #1 contender for Volkanovski's title. Okay. Now, whether you're right or not, but okay, now we have something to hear. Right now, I have nothing to hear. I would love to come over here, make a piece about how great Barboza looked. Oh, and by the way, here's what we have to look forward to, Barboza. But I would have to do a level of research just to find out who is in the top 5 or 6. Nobody knows and nobody cares. And there can never seem to be a wave of MMA where one guy does something and all the other guys don't seem to follow him, right? One guy shows up wearing a suit at a press conference, everybody's in a suit. One guy shows up wearing sunglasses, now everybody's got to wear sunglasses. One guy calls for a title fight, everybody's got to call for a title fight. Somebody calls for the money fight, now everybody calls for the money fight. Daniel Cormier introduces a new term, which is share the octagon. Not I'm going to fight him or I'm going to face him. He says I'm going to share the octagon with this person. Now everybody has to say they want to share the octagon. Robbie Lawler had a great line one time. He said, let's run it back. Now every fighter uses the term, let's run it back. Can you have a damn autonomous thought or not? Can you be the guy that coins the phrase, run it back, share the octagon, money fight, or can't you? We are living in an era right now of calling out rankings. Guys, no one knows what anyone's ranked. So you're calling out the fictional boogeyman in the closet that may or may not exist. And I guess we're going to have to get our flashlight when the sun goes down and take a look. All right, it's just one of these things. Stop. Barboza, you're in the division. You don't know who's ranked number 5 or 6. If you did, you would have called them by name. But I can tell you who is number 5, 6, 4, 3, or 2, or 1 was not in the co-main event, my friend. You were. Which means you're better and your standing within the organization in the eyes of the media and the fan is better than the guys that are ranked 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 in that weight division. That's why you were there. Keep your placement on the card. Stay co-main event. Go to main events every now and then. Bounce back and forth. Don't slide down the card. That needs to be priority number 1 for you. And if you're going to do a call out, not just you, Edson, everybody, stop with the rankings. Because nobody knows and nobody cares. You're not going to get credit for it. That's my point. You're not going to get credit. You go beat the number 2 guy in the world. Nobody's going to know. Nobody knows who's ranked there. And nobody's going to take the level of time to go do research because there's nothing within the article anyway. There's no sell there. There's no interest there in what this guy's ranked and what this guy's ranked. That's not interesting. Co-main events are interesting. A guy changing weight classes later in his career, a guy pissed off at the organization because they're fighting him and not enough. That's interesting. You got this whole thing figured out, but you had one miss. Don't do it again. And don't call for a ranking. You will get nothing for it. You will get no better respect. You will get no more headlines. You will get no more money. You will get no closer to Volkanovski. That is in your mind. You fighters have falsely understood and misunderstood what the ranking system is about. It's a talking point for media members. It was never designed to be anything else. It's not anything else. It's never going to be. Who, what, when, why, and where. That's how you tell a story. Call a name.